Morning. Yes, it's still morning. This is my friend Greg. I'm again Luke Joyce here to share my reflection on my lesson plan and activity for Module 8, Unit 5, Activity 1, focusing on Standards 4 and 5 of the Teach Now rubric, most specifically focusing on content knowledge and the application of it. My lesson, through collaboration with my mentor, was meant to use digital spreadsheets, in this case Google Sheets, to look at population growth and decline data based off the interaction between organisms as a part of our unit on ecosystems and ecology. I designed it to be a project-based endeavor where students would create their own spreadsheet based on data that I provided to them and answer 3 analysis questions that force them to process the data that was presented for them. Okay, but throwing in the curveball of doing it in a digital format kind of gave it that project feel. So I made this lesson plan using, again, some video resources that Greg shared with me, and during the first 5 minutes of my classes when I tried to implement this, I realized that my students had never used spreadsheets before. And so for me, the project aspect was based around the fundamental understanding that you can organize information into a spreadsheet and then manipulate it, organize it differently, do calculations, create graphics, and use that to do analysis questions. And this was meant to be a review, not a learning experience. However, I learned very quickly that my assumption was I guess, ill-fated, and so was my lesson in that regard, so that instead, I ended up focusing the lesson on the development of taking data and organizing it into a chart and doing something with it. So instead of my 2 block periods with an opportunity for individual reflection, it ended up taking a portion of another class without the individual reflection because it took 2.5 class periods to get through the original lesson. So I've adapted since to do some follow-up lessons to build their skills on this a bit better. But in terms of application of content knowledge, I felt that things went very well. I felt that connecting the concepts of predator-prey relationships that are shown in the video are very evident in the graphic analysis that they're able to create. I think that taking that information that they are able to manipulate and generate themselves and apply it to the content of the course was well designed, and I think that it went fairly well once they figured out and got over the hump of data and aggregation and manipulation and analysis. So
I think it was a really good reflection of your knowledge with like Standard 4 and making the lesson materials more appropriate and relevant for the students based on what you know about their skills, and through that scaffolding, getting them prepared for the project-based learning that you are hoping that they're going to be successful at.
Yeah, and I again, that's mostly supported by some of the feedback you gave me before I tried it the first time, which again I'm appreciative of. But for me, I think the biggest room for improvement. I mean, you can always say pre-assess, and I guess this is a reminder of that, but something I wanted to get to as well from this, different strands of the rubric is that I feel as though implementing lessons related to real-world problems and relevant to students and interdisciplinary in nature was my intention, and I still think that it got there. But something that I'm going to have to pay some more attention to moving forward is in the not just operating more effectively with transitions, meeting the needs of all types of learners, because the student is a part of my case study, which we've spoken about at length. Even with these step-by-step instructions, some students who aren't as adept at using technology or graphing skills or analysis in general, I don't feel that this lesson was as effective as it could be. And so for room for improvement based off of these, while I think that even though my lesson didn't go as originally planned, I think that my rubric score is better than what it has been in the past. the biggest takeaway I have from this is becoming more acquainted, as you've alluded to, knowing the skills of students before I try to make these interdisciplinary projects is something that I need to do better with, quite frankly. And I just wanted to ask for some feedback from you, if you had any more to offer about ways that you think might improve the quality of this on my end.
The quality of the skills part?
Or development of a meaningful lesson for students. Based off of, again, the skills of our students as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, part of it just takes being a risk taker and trying to either use strategies that you've learned about or seeking out new strategies that you think might support what the students are going to be doing within that lesson with whatever the objective is. And especially by posing it as a challenge, and I don't know, yeah, it's a challenge. It's tough because like sometimes I'll just give them a task with a procedure and see if they can figure it out on their own as a way to essentially diagnose their prerequisite skills. Sometimes what I'll do too is like really scaffold a procedure too, so then that way they're submitting or presenting parts of their evidence, and then that way I can adjust how like the next stage or the next product, what kind of adjustments I need to make in there. I think it also is very helpful for students, and I do this every time there's a mistake, is I make it very clear, like, oh, I made a mistake, I'm learning from you too, and how to be a better teacher and meet your needs. And I think that as long as you are giving your honest effort and you're communicating that, and demonstrating also that you're learning from what you're gaining from those experiences, I think that makes the experience meaningful for students too, because they see you as a learner going through this process of struggle, fail, and then how do I do something different so that I'm successful the next time, and keep on showing that resiliency. Because I don't think students really get a chance to see that as often, and I think that's a meaningful part of learning, is those soft skills as well.
Establishing those relationships, use those buzzwords as well.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate your time moving through this, and hopefully the next time we reflect, we'll eventually get to a true home run lesson. Thanks again, pal.